The first thing I remember about the planet Vareth 9 was the silence. Not the kind of quiet you find in a forest or a temple, but a heavy, suffocating stillness, as if the very air was holding its breath. I was a liaison officer, part of the first human delegation sent to re-establish contact with the Varithi Empire after 2 decades of war. Humanity had barely survived that conflict. Both our worlds were burned and bleeding. But peace, somehow, was being discussed. Our ship, the Dauntless, had landed outside their capital. Every human was on edge. The Varithi were a proud and ancient race, tall, silver-skinned beings with luminous eyes and voices that carried like chimes in wind. We'd fought them for years, and even now, surrounded by their soldiers, I felt that same old pulse of fear and awe. I wasn't supposed to speak. I was just a technical advisor. But as I stepped off the ramp, I could feel the eyes of thousands watching, the remnants of a people who once called humans vermin from the stars. And then I saw her. She stood at the base of the great citadel steps, a figure of authority and calm. Commander Sailari, the Varithi High Envoy. Her ceremonial armor shimmered with shades of blue and silver, and when her eyes met mine, I froze. There was recognition there, something I couldn't explain. But we'd never met. At least, not in this lifetime. Middle, Part 1. The mission. The negotiations dragged on for days. The humans and Varithi were bound by politics, wounded pride, and mutual exhaustion. I kept mostly silent, taking notes, monitoring data feeds, translating nuances in their speech patterns. But every now and then, I'd feel her gaze, Sailari's, settle on me. On the 5th day, she requested my presence. Alone. When I entered her chamber, I noticed her quarters were different from the cold, metallic rooms of her people. They were warm, lit by soft bioluminescent orbs and filled with faint melodies of flowing water. She stood near a massive window, looking out at the twin moons of her world. "You are called Elliot Kane, yes?" she said, her voice low and melodic. "Yes, Commander." Her gaze flicked briefly to the small scar running from my wrist to my forearm, a faint, pale line I'd had since I was a child. She seemed to flinch. "Where did you get that?" she asked suddenly. I frowned. I don't really know. I was found after a shuttle crash on Titan Base when I was 7. It's just always been there." Her eyes widened slightly. "Titan Base," she whispered. "Year 2231. My chest tightened. "Yes." "How would you know that?" Sailari took a trembling step toward me. Her fingers, long and faintly glowing, hovered just above my skin. "Because I was there." I froze. "That's impossible." She looked away, her voice breaking into something almost human. "Your ship, the Horizon, was destroyed in the early raids. I found a child among the wreckage. A human child. You were dying." Her eyes met mine again, haunted, raw. "I healed you. I saved you. But before my command found out, I had to send you away, erase the traces of what I'd done. If they'd known I had spared a human life, they would have executed me." My breath caught. The scar on my arm, it wasn't from the crash. It was a mark left by her, a residual trace of their healing process. I stared at her, disbelief battling against a deep, instinctive knowing. "You're saying you saved me?" "I did," she whispered. "And I thought you were lost to the stars forever." Middle, Part 2. The truth. That night, I couldn't sleep. My memories were fragmented. Faces, flashes, fire. A soft voice singing in a language I couldn't understand. Could that have been her? The next day, the negotiations took a dark turn. One of the human generals accused the Varithi of sabotage. The air turned electric with tension. I saw Salari's jaw tighten as the humans threatened to end the peace talks. Before I could intervene, a hidden transmitter on the table burst into static. A message crackled through. The Varithi High Command had discovered Salari's act of treason from decades ago. Someone had leaked it. The punishment was death. Salari turned to me, her eyes calm but hollow. They know. I will be executed before the next dawn. I stood, fists trembling. No. There must be something we can do. She gave a faint smile. You humans, always believing you can fight destiny. But I wasn't about to let her die for saving me. Not again. Part 3, The Escape. By midnight, I had a plan. The Varithi Citadel was fortified, but I still had clearance as part of the delegation. Using the diplomatic codes and Salari's trust, I accessed the lower levels. The halls pulsed with energy conduits and shimmering glyphs. The deeper I went, the louder my heart pounded. When I reached her holding chamber, she looked almost serene, as if she'd already accepted her fate. You shouldn't be here, she said. I'm not leaving you, I replied. Not after what you did for me. She tilted her head, studying me. You are different from the humans I fought. Maybe because I learned from you, I said. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then she reached out, her hand brushing the same scar she'd touched before. Her eyes glowed softly, and I felt something stir within me, an echo of warmth, of a connection deeper than memory. Elliot, she whispered, when I healed you, I gave you a part of my essence. You carry Varithi energy within you. That is why they fear you. That is why they must erase me. Suddenly, alarms blared. Guards stormed in. Go, she shouted, pushing me toward the emergency conduit. You can still make it, but I grabbed her wrist. Not without you. The chamber exploded into chaos, light beams cutting through smoke, shouts in alien tongues. I don't remember much of what happened next, only that her hand never left mine as we ran. Part 4, The Revelation. We reached the outer Citadel docks, the twin moons shining like watchful eyes. As we boarded an old transport craft, the Varithi fleet began to mobilize overhead. I could hear their comms, orders to intercept, to terminate both the human and the traitor. Inside the cockpit, Salari activated a hidden drive. This ship has a cloaking module. It will only last a few minutes. Where will we go? I asked. She hesitated. To the ruins of Kareth 4. It was my home before the war. The flight was silent, except for the hum of the engines. Outside, the stars streaked past, each one a reminder of how far from Earth I was. When we landed, the ruins of an ancient temple rose before us, carved from obsidian and bone-white stone. This place, she said softly, was where the Varithi learned the old ways, before the war made us forget what we were. We entered the temple. The air shimmered faintly around me. I could feel a pulse beneath my skin, the same rhythm as her heartbeat. She stopped before a circular pool, glowing faintly. This is the well of memory. It records essence, not just flesh. It may show you the truth. I stepped forward. The water rippled, and visions filled my mind. A battlefield. Fire. Screams. A Varithi soldier. Her, kneeling beside a dying human child. Her voice whispering, "Live, little one." A glow, a touch. My scar forming. And then, her tears as she carried me through the storm. When the vision ended, I was trembling. "It's true," I whispered. "It was you." Salari smiled weakly. "And now you know why they cannot let me live. You are proof of our connection, of what they fear most." Part 1, The Sacrifice. Before we could speak further, the air outside erupted with thunder. Varithi's ships had tracked us. Blue plasma rained down, shaking the ruins. "They've found us," I shouted. Sailari turned to me, calm amid the storm. "Elliot, listen. The essence I gave you, it connects us. You can survive what's coming." "I can't." I grabbed her shoulders.
"No.
"I'm not losing you again."
You don't understand.
"If they destroy this place, your human ship will sense the energy surge. They'll come for you. You can tell them the truth, that peace was possible." She pressed her hand to my chest, light pouring from her fingers. "Take this memory. Carry it back." I tried to fight it, to pull her back, but the light became blinding. The temple walls collapsed. Her voice echoed in my mind. "Remember me." And then, darkness. Ending, Part 2. The Return. When I awoke, I was aboard the Dauntless. The crew told me they'd found me drifting near the debris of an ancient temple. I was barely alive. They said no one else was there. For weeks, I said nothing. I told the human command that Sailari had perished, but not how. They were already preparing new treaties, using her betrayal as justification for peace. At night, I would trace the scar on my arm, feeling the faint pulse beneath it, the same rhythm I'd felt when she touched me. Sometimes, when I closed my eyes, I could hear her voice. "You are the bridge between our worlds." Ending, Part 3. The Legacy. Years passed. Peace, fragile but real, took hold. The Varithi and humanity began to rebuild. I worked as an ambassador, overseeing joint colonization efforts on neutral worlds. One evening, on a quiet moon called Eleanor, I stood by the observation deck, watching the sunset spill across the alien sea. And there, amid the crowd of settlers and scientists, I saw her. Or at least I thought I did. A figure with silver hair, luminous eyes, and a faint, knowing smile. When she turned, our eyes met. The same warmth flooded through me. She placed a hand over her heart and whispered something, too soft to hear. Then, as the crowd shifted, she was gone. But the scar on my arm glowed faintly, pulsing in time with the stars. And I knew she hadn't died. Not truly. Part of her still lived within me, across the bridge she'd created between two species. She was more than a commander, more than an alien, more than a memory. She was the reason peace existed at all. And every time I looked to the stars, I whispered the words she once said to me. "We are not enemies. We are echoes of the same light."